We're going to buzz through this next part so you can get to hear Mr. Erdmann speak. We got a couple of, after all, the guy did come all the way from Texas. We don't want to send him home empty-handed. Got a couple of gifts we'd like to hand out to him here. First up, the president of the student body, Genesis Gomez, has a plaque. Okay, next up, we have our two varsity head football coaches of the past and present, Coaches Levy and Zanino. Going to present Mr. Erdmann with the #1 Belmont football jersey. Okay, the last gift we're going to give him here is, in this gift, we have a Erdmann Stadium commemorative coin. There were 300 of them made, so it is a limited edition. They're on sale up there. If you're interested in finding them, Mr. Erdmann gets his own commemorative coin for tonight. Okay, Mr. Erdmann, if you would step forward, please. About 13 or 14 years ago, I was at Mr. Erdmann's retirement, and the last thing Mr. Erdmann said, probably a lot of you were there too, the last thing Mr. Erdmann said before he walked away from the podium was, he said a lot of people came up to him and said, "I can't imagine Belmont without Erdmann." And then he followed that up by saying, "I can't imagine Erdmann without Belmont." Well, Dentler, in about 10 seconds here, you will never be without Belmont again, and Belmont will certainly never be without you again. If you would, focus your attention across the field. Ladies, let her rip.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. I want to add my congratulations and thanks to this fabulous facility. The Board of Education, the administration here at Belmont, and the staff that worked here so hard. You know, my own personal introduction to Montgomery Field was in my second year when I was here at Belmont. Student council at the time had arranged for a two-hand touch football game between members of the faculty and members of the student body. And Maury Katz, who was the student council sponsor at the time, talked me into rigging my pants so that when I went out for a pass, reach up for the ball, my pants would fall down. Don't worry, it's not going to happen tonight. But fortunately, everything's been uphill since that time. You know, I've seen a lot of wonderful things here at Montgomery Field. For example, like Nancy Carswain's exciting soccer teams played right here at Montgomery Field. And you know, I saw Nate Harris run a 9.7-100 here on this field. And a few years later, there was a little girl that transferred here from Georgia, a little girl named Sabrina Blair, who was clocking the 100 at 10.8. And she couldn't run with the girls because the girls were no competition. She tried to run with the boys, but they wouldn't run with her because she beat them all, you know? Not only that, you know, there were other things like, for example, I saw the Gomez family run here. Roman, Manny, Carlos, and Yoli. And I'm sure that Roman probably still owns a couple of school board records for the state, you know? And you know what, some of the exciting things, I saw the Cuban Flash run here, Carlos Mendez, you know? And his sister later on ran here, Jan Mendez, who's also a gifted athlete, but more so she was just drop dead gorgeous. She was gorgeous. You know, and I remember seeing Keith Marshiro running hurdles here, Mario Serrano down the shot put area at that time, and so Tony Jett on the pole vault, and just a lot of events that went down here. But you know, going back to track, you know, I think the most exciting track event I ever saw, and I've been to the Prefontaine, the Mount Sac relays, but it was right here. We were running against Marshall, who else, you know, and it had come down to the last event, the mile relay. Ricardo Villaneda was running anchor for us that day. And you know, it came down that if we could take that relay, it was ours. But unfortunately, you know, when Ricardo got the baton over here in this field, the kid from Marshall was already making the turn over here under the scoreboard. And we knew, well, the meet is over. But somebody forgot to tell Ricardo. And in the grittiest, gutsiest performance I've ever seen, Ricardo beat that kid from Marshall. You know, it's the most exciting football game. And I've been to the pros, I've been to colleges, but the most exciting football game I've ever seen was here in Montgomery Field. Belmont, which was ranked probably, remember at that time we had 49 schools in the city, and I think Belmont was ranked 50th, you know? And we were playing against Wilson High, which was, you know, second, third, or whatever it was, you know? And it came down to 8 seconds, and we were down a couple, and with Ruben Guzman over the ball, and his brother Alex holding the ball, Louis Gomez kicked a field goal that won the game. The game ended as that ball was going to the uprights. That's the greatest football game ever. You know, and we talk about the sports and all this kind of stuff, but let me tell you something, there were other things that have been here. For example, the greatest bunch of cheerleaders that ever graced the sideline anywhere were the girls of 76. Not only were they just fabulous cheerleaders, but they were also beautiful. You know, as a matter of a couple of them went on to cheer for professional teams. Like Ernie went on to cheer for the Los Angeles Raiders, later again the Oakland Raiders again, and Sergio Sanchez cheered for the Galaxy, and of course we saw Sergio later on in films and television. You know, so no, it was a great group. By the way, too, about the cheerleaders, do you know that Montgomery Field was the first place here in Los Angeles that girls were ever cheerleaders? Until about the mid-40s, only boys could be cheerleaders. And but there were some girls at Belmont said we wouldn't be cheerleaders. They came down here, got reported, got in a lot of trouble, but the Board of Education held them. The first girl cheerleaders right here in Montgomery Field. Along with everything else, with the athletics and all this kind of stuff, some of the other things we saw here were Tony Felice's incredible city championship bands and drill team that performed here. He was very able to assist with Brian Higa. He had the Edwin Galano, the drum line. But you know, of all the games I went to here in Texas, wherever, there was one piece that would raise the hair on the back of my head and give me chill bumps, and it was when Tony Felice's band played How Great Thou Art. It was one of the greatest pieces ever played anywhere. But you know what, when you stop to think about it, well, you know, another thing too, the ROTC, the incredible ROTC groups that we had, Parade here, Win and March and Review here, were just incredible. But you know, when you start to think about it, just about everybody who ever had anything to do with Belmont had something to do with Montgomery Field. People like Richard Crenna, Jack Webb, Odetta, Rob Lyles, who I think probably now to this day is probably the only 12 varsity letterman guy we've ever had here. He went on to play with at TCU, the Oilers, and he's a linebacker coach at West Point now. But it's not just an incredible field, you know, a lot of good people here. Paul Politi, who wrote Oldies but Goodies. Mike Stoller, who wrote over 20 of Elvis's biggest hits. They all left their footprints here. And on a black granite wall in Washington, D.C. are the names of 7 kids who call this home field. You know, in the winter months, the north wind can blow cold in love of Texas, bone-chilling cold. But I have a sure way of keeping warm. I get me a cup of hot coffee, get me a couple of Belmont yearbooks, get into my easy chair, look back, relax, remember. And I can say that any day I was at Belmont, I can honestly say it don't get no better than this. And so it is tonight. It was so good to be back here on the Belmont campus. Electrifying to stand here on Montgomery Field. And seeing all of you was so wonderful, so warm. And yeah, hey, listen, seeing my name on this stadium, hey, it really don't get no better than this.